My ex-wife cheated, faked a pregnancy, and tried to ruin me, so I exposed her lies in court. Divorce court wasn't where I wanted to spend my Friday morning, but with an ex-wife like Monica, I had no choice. The whole process had been a nightmare from the start. Delays, nonsense filings, and outright tantrums, all designed to waste my time. If Monica had put half as much effort into our marriage as she did into making my life hell, we wouldn't have ended up here. But the moment she walked into the hearing, pregnant, I nearly laughed. Not because I thought the kid was mine, I knew it wasn't, but because I could see the scheme forming in her head, like a cheap soap opera plot playing out in real time. Monica was banking on one thing, that the judge would see her as a poor, vulnerable, abandoned pregnant woman and force me to pay up. Forget the prenup, forget logic. Just play the sympathy card and walk out with a hefty payout. I could already hear the speech she had planned in her head. Your Honor, I have a baby on the way, and I've been left with nothing. How am I supposed to survive? All while shooting me pitiful glances, waiting for me to squirm under the pressure. Too bad for her, I don't squirm, I don't lose. What Monica didn't realize was that I had already figured her out months ago. The thing about Monica wasn't just that she was bad at marriage, she was bad at lying. She was predictable, sloppy, and worst of all, overconfident. She thought she had this in the bag. She thought I'd panic, get flustered, maybe even offer a settlement just to avoid looking like the bad guy. She had no idea that the one question the judge was about to ask her would make her entire scheme crumble. Monica walked into the courtroom with an air of smugness, her hand resting on her belly like a prop, her other hand brushing her hair behind her ear, as if she wasn't about to commit blatant fraud in a courtroom. She even sighed dramatically when she took her seat, as if this entire ordeal was exhausting her fragile, pregnant self. I didn't react. I didn't need to. Unlike Monica, I wasn't walking in blind. I was ready. And so was my lawyer, Marcus. Marcus was the kind of guy who smiled in court but would absolutely gut you with the law. I didn't like lawyers much, but after watching him dismantle Monica's antics over the last few months, I was glad he was on my side. Monica, on the other hand, had gone through 3 different lawyers since this divorce started. The one she had today was a newbie, fresh out of law school, probably desperate to win his first big case. I almost felt bad for him, almost. Because here's the thing, Monica had tried this before. Not the pregnancy stunt, but the manipulation, the fake distress, the "I'm just a struggling woman, Your Honor. Please take pity on me" act. And unfortunately, some people bought it, including my own mother. A week before the hearing, my mom had called me, her voice weary. "Just settle," she said. "You don't want this dragging on forever." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "Mom, she's not getting a cent. That's why we had a prenup." "Since she's pregnant," she pushed. "Do you really want that on your conscience?" I almost lost it. "Kiss isn't my kid, Mom." She hesitated. "Are you sure?" Was I sure? "Oh, Mom, she cheated on me repeatedly. I caught her. Besides, you know what the worst part is? If I actually thought this was my kid, she wouldn't even need to pull this stunt. I'd be there. I'd take care of them. That's the difference between us. She schemes. I take responsibility." Mom went quiet for a moment, then sighed. "And I just don't want to see this get ugly." It was already ugly, but I promised her I'd handle it. Which brings us back to today. The judge walked in, and the hearing began. Monica's lawyer launched into his sob story immediately. "Your Honor, my client has been left in an impossible situation. She is pregnant, unemployed, and struggling due to the emotional and financial strain caused by this drawn-out divorce." Monica sniffled on cue, wiping an invisible tear from the corner of her eye. I didn't even blink. Marcus, my lawyer, waited patiently, letting the theatrics play out before finally standing. "Your Honor, while we certainly sympathize with Miss Carter's situation, we must clarify a few things before proceeding. First and foremost," he turned to Monica's lawyer, "who is the father of this child?" Just like that, Monica visibly stiffened. I knew that question was coming. Monica didn't. She assumed the court wouldn't question her pregnancy, that she could waltz in, look vulnerable, and walk out with a fat check. But legally, her pregnancy was only relevant if I was the father. Her lawyer froze, then weakly mumbled, "Oh, my client believes it is the petitioner's." I almost laughed. "Believes?" Marcus didn't even flinch. "She believes? So there's no proof?" Monica shifted uncomfortably. The judge's eyes narrowed. "Ms. Carter, have you had a paternity test done?" Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. She was trapped. I just assumed." "You assumed?" the judge repeated, unimpressed. "So, Miss Carter, is there any evidence to suggest the petitioner is the father?" Her lawyer looked like he wanted to die. Monica looked pale. I leaned back in my chair, enjoying the show. At this point, Marcus was ready to finish her off. "Your Honor, we have strong reason to believe this child is not my client's." He pulled out photos taken 2 months after Monica and I separated, pictures of her on vacation, holding hands with another man, kissing. Clear proof she had moved on. Then, the final nail in the coffin, medical documents. Marcus slid the papers across the table. Additionally, we have subpoenaed Miss Carter's recent medical records, which show that her first confirmed pregnancy test was months after she and my client had last been together. Monica's face crumpled. Her lawyer looked at her like she had just thrown him into the ocean with an anchor tied to his feet. The judge let out a long sigh and shook his head. Miss Carter, this court does not take kindly to deception. Given the evidence, there is no basis for financial support. The prenup stands. You will not be receiving alimony or additional compensation. Boom. Monica gasped, as if she had been physically struck. Oh, but, Your Honor! The judge held up a hand. This hearing is over. Done. Monica sat there, frozen, the judge's words still hanging in the air. But I could see it happening in real time, her brain scrambling for a way out. This wasn't how today was supposed to go for her. In her version of events, she was supposed to cry, look pitiful, and leave with a fat monthly check. Instead, she had been publicly exposed. Her lawyer wasn't even looking at her anymore. He was staring at the floor, probably reevaluating every decision that led him to take this case. And Monica? She was gripping the edge of the table like she could somehow hold on to the last shreds of her scheme. The tantrum was coming. I just sat back and waited. Monica sat frozen, her scheme crumbling around her. The courtroom was silent except for the judge's firm declaration, "This hearing is over." She didn't move. Her lawyer sat stiff beside her, likely regretting ever taking this case. I could see it happening in real time, Monica scrambling for a way to salvage the situation. She had walked in, belly out, expecting to leave with a check. Instead, she had been exposed, humiliated, and legally shut down. But Monica wasn't the type to go down gracefully. The tantrum was coming. She gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles turning white, and then it started. Your Honor, this isn't fair, she burst out, her voice rising in pitch. And I'm about to have a baby and he just gets to walk away? The judge exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. He was done. And Miss Carter, he said, his tone clipped. This court does not make financial judgments based on emotional appeals. Your pregnancy has no legal bearing on this divorce unless paternity is established, which, based on the evidence provided, it has not been. She turned her furious gaze toward me, desperate for one last shot. You're really going to do this to me? To your own child? I smiled, a slow, amused, merciless smile. You really want to do this, Monica? I leaned forward, my voice calm even. And you want to go on record accusing me of being the father? Because we can get a court-ordered paternity test right now. Her face twitched. She had nothing. She knew it, and now so did everyone else in the room. The judge didn't even bother responding this time. He simply turned to the court clerk. Adjourned. It was over. I stood, buttoning my suit jacket, while Marcus, my lawyer, gave me a small nod of approval. Monica, meanwhile, sat there, still in shock, still trying to process the fact that her entire plan had just exploded in her face. I walked out of the courtroom feeling lighter than I had in months, but Monica wasn't done yet. She came storming out of the courtroom minutes later, heels clacking against the marble floor, face red with rage, hands shaking. I heard her before I saw her. "You're a monster," she hissed as she caught up to me. "You'll let me sit there, humiliated." I turned slowly, looking her up and down. "I'm sorry, Monica. Was it the part where you tried to scam the court that humiliated you, or the part where you realized I was 3 steps ahead?" Her jaw clenched. "Oh, you set me up," I chuckled, shaking my head. "No, sweetheart. You set yourself up. I just let you walk into it." She looked like she wanted to throw something at me, but then she tried one last card. She turned to my mother, Susan, who had been standing nearby, watching everything unfold with tired eyes. "Are you seriously okay with this?" Monica's voice cracked. "With what he did to me?" Mom crossed her arms, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she spoke. "I'm not okay with what you did to him." Her voice was firm. "Tony, you had us all fooled once. Never again." Monica's lip quivered. For a second, I thought she might actually cry. Then the real explosion. "So I hope you rot," she shrieked, stepping forward like she wanted to claw at me. "And I hope you lose everything." Before she could do anything else, a stern voice cut through the tension. "Miss Carter." A court officer stepped into the hallway, another standing just behind him. Monica froze. "Come with us, please." Her head snapped around. "What? What?" The first officer didn't blink. "A judge has recommended an inquiry into potential perjury and fraud. You'll need to answer some questions." Her eyes went wide. "Wait, no, that's not..." But they were already leading her back into the courtroom. I let out a slow breath. Beside me, Marcus patted my shoulder. "Well, that was satisfying." I smirked. "Yeah, it was." I didn't follow her. I didn't need to. Monica was no longer my problem. Over the next few months, I heard bits and pieces of what happened. Apparently, the judge wasn't just pissed, he was making an example out of her. Faking financial distress? Bad. Trying to manipulate the court? Worse. Lying under oath? That was perjury. Her fraudulent claims meant she was now under investigation. The court didn't just dismiss her plea for alimony, they flagged her case for potential financial fraud. It got worse from there. She was hit with fines for wasting the court's time. Her lawyer, Jason, dropped her immediately. She tried to file for government aid, denied. Turns out they also require proof of paternity, and the cherry on top? Her new boyfriend, Ryan, dumped her. Apparently, after Marcus pulled out those vacation photos in court, Ryan started doing the math. He realized he wasn't the only one Monica had been with. Suddenly, he wasn't so sure he was the father either. I can only imagine how that conversation went. A few months after the trial, I got a text from an unknown number. Monica, and I hope you're happy. I stared at it for a second, then typed back. Me? I am. Thanks for asking. Then I blocked the number. For the first time in a long time, I was free. It had been months since the courtroom showdown, and life was finally peaceful. No more legal battles, no more ridiculous schemes, no more Monica, or so I thought, because despite losing spectacularly in court, Monica wasn't the type to just disappear. No, she was the type to burn every bridge and then stand in the ashes, crying about how unfair the world was. And sure enough, even after being exposed, humiliated, and hit with legal consequences, she wasn't done trying to drag me down with her. I should have expected it. The first sign of trouble came when I got a call from my bank. Mr. Carter, we need to verify some unusual activity on your account. I frowned, sitting up in my chair. What kind of activity? Series of attempted withdrawals and account changes, several requests for statements, one attempt to add an authorized user. The banker hesitated, and a flagged attempt to access your online banking from an unfamiliar device. I exhaled slowly. Oh, let me guess. All from Monica Carter? A pause. She did provide identification under that name, yes? I chuckled humorlessly. Of course she had. Lock it down, freeze any changes, and send me a list of every attempt she made. I hung up, shaking my head. The audacity. Monica had already lost everything in court, but now she was trying to find a new way to squeeze money out of me, this time by accessing my accounts. Unfortunately for her, I was already ahead of her. The next week I got another call, this time from Marcus, my lawyer. You're not going to believe this, he said, sounding almost amused. Try me, I replied. Pretending Monica is trying to appeal the ruling. Claims she was coerced into signing the prenup, and that new evidence proves you were financially abusive during the marriage. I actually laughed. Financially abusive? She spent more on handbags than I did on my mortgage. And no, but she's desperate. She's desperate. She found a new lawyer, some buyer, some bottom feeder willing to take the case on contingency. So, and say won't win, I said confidently. Of course not. The judge won't even entertain it, not after she tried to manipulate the court last time. But it's a nuisance. That's all Monica had left. She had no case, no credibility, no sympathy, but she could still be a nuisance. And she was about to make that my problem. Over the next few weeks, Monica tried everything she could think of. She filed a complaint with my workplace, claiming I had harassed her. It was dismissed immediately. Everyone knew the divorce details, and no one bought her story. She started rumors that I had cheated on her during our marriage, hoping to turn mutual friends against me. It didn't work. Most people had already cut ties with her after the trial. She even tried to have me investigated for tax fraud, making an anonymous report to the IRS. That one almost made me respect her effort, except that I had been meticulous with my finances for years. They took one look at my records and laughed her out of the system. It was exhausting, but I refused to let her win. Then she made her biggest mistake yet. One evening I was having dinner with my mother when my phone buzzed with a notification, a new email from Monica. I opened it, expecting some long-winded rant, but what I saw instead made my blood run cold. Attached was a document, a forged loan agreement with my name on it, claiming that I had promised Monica a six-figure sum to help support her transition after the divorce. The message was simple: pay me, or I take this to court. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then I forwarded the email to Marcus. The next morning, we were in his office reviewing the forged document. She's actually lost her mind, I muttered, shaking my head. Marcus smirked. She's desperate and sloppy. This is textbook fraud. What are our options? And we could ignore it, but she might still try to file a case. Or we could file a counterclaim for attempted extortion and document forgery. I didn't even hesitate. File it. Monica wanted war? she was about to get one. By the time Monica realized what was happening, it was too late. She had assumed I'd be too scared of legal trouble to call her bluff. Instead, I turned her scheme into her downfall. When we filed the case, Marcus made sure to include everything: the fraudulent loan document, the email where she tried to blackmail me, a record of all her failed attempts to get money out of me, bank fraud, workplace complaints, IRS reports. We painted the full picture. Monica wasn't a struggling single mother. She was a manipulative fraud who had spent months trying to scam me and the legal system. And this time, the court didn't just dismiss her case. They charged her: forgery, extortion, attempted fraud. The same judge who had ruled against her before made it clear she was done. Her case was thrown out so fast it made headlines, and as an extra slap in the face, she was ordered to pay my legal fees. Monica had thought she could outplay me. Instead, she played herself. And now she was completely, utterly broke. After the court dismissed Monica's latest scheme and hit her with legal fees, I expected that to be the end of it. But Monica never knew when to quit. She had lost the alimony case, she had lost the fraudulent loan scam, she had lost her credibility, her dignity, and now her finances. And yet, she still believed she could find a way to turn the tables. That was her fatal mistake. The fallout from her fraud case spread fast. With the court ruling against her, Monica's financial situation went from bad to catastrophic. She had already blown through whatever money she had left from the marriage. Now, with additional legal fees and fines, she was drowning. Her attempts to get government assistance were blocked. Turns out agencies don't take kindly to people who forge financial documents. Her reputation was ruined. The same people who had once believed her sob stories now saw her for what she was: a manipulator, a liar, a con artist. Even the few remaining friends she had abandoned her. And then there was Ryan, the boyfriend who had stood by her, convinced he was the father of her child. The same boyfriend who had seen me exposed in court as not the father. At first he stuck around, probably trying to convince himself that Monica was still the victim. But after Marcus exposed those vacation photos in court, showing Monica with multiple men, Ryan started doing the math. A few weeks later, he was gone too. Monica had lost everything, and she still wasn't done making mistakes. A month after her fraud case was thrown out, I got a call from Marcus. Monica's filed for an emergency appeal, he said, sounding almost amused. An appeal? Based on what? That's the funny part. She's claiming financial hardship as a reason to revisit the divorce settlement. Claims she wasn't in the right mental state when she signed the prenup, and that she's now unable to support herself. I nearly laughed. She's actually trying this again? Well, not just trying, Marcus replied. Oh, she's going all in. She's even claiming that your financial success after the divorce is proof that she was left with nothing and deserves a share of your assets. Let me guess, she's still ignoring the part where she was the one who cheated and tried to scam the court? Tito, completely. I sighed. What do we do? Nothing, Marcus said simply. This is just another stunt. She doesn't have a case. No judge is going to overturn a legally binding prenup just because she's broke and bitter. They'll dismiss it before it even gets to trial. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Monica's appeal was thrown out within a week. Her last shot at getting money from me was gone, and now she had no options, which meant there was only one thing left for her to do. She snapped. The first sign of Monica's total breakdown came through social media. She started posting long, unhinged rants about how I had destroyed her life. She called me a narcissist, a liar, a man who weaponized the legal system against a helpless woman. She tried to paint herself as the victim, claiming I had manipulated the courts, bribed the judge, and used my privilege to escape accountability. She even went as far as accusing me of abusing her during our marriage, a blatant, disgusting lie. At first, I ignored it. But then she took it a step further. She started messaging my family, my coworkers, and even my friends, sending them long, emotional texts about how I had abandoned her and my unborn child. Except by now, no one believed her. People started sending me screenshots of her messages, and they weren't just ignoring her, they were calling her out. One of my former coworkers responded with, "Say, Monica, we all saw what happened in court. You lied. Move on." Another friend messaged her, "And you literally tried to forge a loan document to extort him. Maybe take some accountability." And my mom? She sent one message, "Stop contacting me." That was it. That was when Monica finally realized she had no one left. The last time I saw Monica, it was completely by accident. I had stopped by a coffee shop one morning when I noticed her sitting in the corner, looking completely unrecognizable. She wasn't the woman who had strutted into court, smug and confident, convinced she was about to walk away with half my money. She looked exhausted, hollow, defeated. Her hair was messy, her clothes were worn, and she had dark circles under her eyes. For a second, I almost felt bad for her. Then I remembered everything she had done. She must have sensed me looking at her because she glanced up. For the briefest moment our eyes met, her face twisted with pure hate. I just smiled. Not a smug smile, not an arrogant one, just a smile that said, "Why you did this to yourself." She quickly looked away, staring down at her empty coffee cup, and I knew Monica had finally lost. Not just in court, not just financially. She had lost everything. Her reputation, her relationships, her dignity. And worst of all, she had no one left to blame but herself. A few days later I got a text from an unknown number. "Monica, are you happy now?" I didn't need to ask who it was. I typed back, "Me? Yes. Thanks for asking." Then I blocked the number. Monica was nothing to me now, just a bad memory. And for the first time since the divorce started, I was truly, finally free. I should have known Monica wouldn't let go without trying one last desperate move. The appeal had failed. The fraud case had cost her everything. Her reputation was ruined. Her finances were in ruins, and she had no one left in her corner. Even Ryan, the boyfriend she was counting on, had walked out when he realized he might not even be the father of her child. And yet, despite all of that, she still thought she had a way to win. She still thought she could drag me down with her. But what she didn't realize was that this time, she had crossed the wrong line. It started with another call from Marcus, my lawyer. "Monica just filed a restraining order against you." I nearly dropped my phone. And a restraining order? Based on what? On alleged harassment and emotional abuse. I let out a long, slow breath. So, let me get this straight. After everything she's pulled, after trying to steal from me, forge documents, and lie under oath, now she's the one claiming to be the victim. It's exactly what's happening, Marcus confirmed. Since claiming that after the divorce ruling you've been stalking her, harassing her online, and trying to intimidate her. I almost laughed. I hadn't spoken to Monica in months. The last time I even saw her was by accident at a coffee shop, where she had looked like a shell of her former self. And now she was trying to flip the script and make it seem like I was the one obsessed with her? It was pathetic. "So, what do we do?" I asked. "When we fight it, obviously," Marcus replied. "Saying he doesn't have a case, and filing a false restraining order, that's another legal mess she doesn't want to get into." "Shintitu, what's her angle here?" "Same as always, money. If she gets the restraining order granted, she'll use it to leverage another legal battle, claim damages, and try to squeeze more money out of you. She thinks you'll settle just to avoid the hassle. Oh, and she really hasn't learned, has she? Apparently not." I sighed. "All right, let's end this." The hearing was scheduled for a week later. I walked in feeling nothing. No anger, no frustration, just exhaustion. I was tired of Monica, tired of her lies, her schemes, her endless attempts to claw at me with her manipulative tactics. And I knew this was her last shot. If this failed, she had no more plays left. Marcus was waiting for me inside the courtroom, flipping through a folder of documents. "She's here," he said without looking up. I glanced across the room. Monica was sitting at the table, trying to look delicate and fragile, like a woman under distress. She had gone all in on the performance. Her makeup was subtle, designed to make her look pale and tired, her hair slightly messy, but in a way that seemed intentional, like she wanted the judge to believe she was so mentally drained from my supposed harassment that she could barely take care of herself. It was laughable. I took my seat, not even looking in her direction. The judge walked in, and the hearing began. Monica's lawyer started with the same tired script she had used in every other legal battle. "Sir Honor, my client has endured months of relentless harassment at the hands of Mr. Carter. She fears for her safety and the safety of her unborn child. She is requesting an immediate protective order to ensure her well-being." Monica sniffled, dabbing at an imaginary tear. I didn't react. The judge turned to my lawyer. "Mr. Davis, how does your client respond?" Marcus stood, completely unfazed. "Your Honor, before we even begin, I'd like to present some evidence to the court that directly contradicts Miss Carter's claims." He walked over to the judge's bench and placed a thick stack of papers in front of him. These are call logs, text messages, and emails proving that my client has had no contact with Miss Carter since the divorce was finalized. In fact, as you'll see, the only person initiating communication has been her. The judge flipped through the documents, his expression hardening. "Additionally," Marcus continued, "so we have records of Miss Carter reaching out to mutual acquaintances, spreading false rumors about my client, and even attempting to access his financial accounts under fraudulent pretenses." The judge's eyes snapped to Monica. I didn't need to see her face to know she was panicking. Furthermore, Marcus added, "So we would like to submit witness statements from multiple individuals who were contacted by Miss Carter with false allegations about my client, all in an attempt to manipulate them into siding with her." The courtroom was dead silent. The judge leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. Then he turned to Monica's lawyer. Do you have any evidence to support your client's claims? The lawyer hesitated. He knew what was coming. We have Miss Carter's testimony. So no actual proof? The judge interrupted. The lawyer cleared his throat. And this time, no, Your Honor. Boom. The judge sighed, shaking his head. Miss Carter, this court does not take false claims lightly. There is no evidence of harassment or stalking. In fact, the evidence suggests quite the opposite, that you have been attempting to manipulate and defame the petitioner. Monica's hands clenched into fists. I could see her whole body trembling. Therefore, the judge continued, sin request for a restraining order is denied. That was it. That was the moment Monica finally realized she had lost. She didn't even wait for the courtroom to clear. As soon as the judge left, she turned on me. You think this is over? She spat, her voice low and shaking. You think you've won? I looked at her, expression blank. Monica, I won the moment I walked away from you. Her face twisted with rage. I hope you're happy, you heartless piece of… In Miss Carter, a court officer interrupted, stepping forward. When you need to leave now. She turned on him, wild-eyed. You're all against me, this isn't fair. But the officer wasn't interested in her theatrics. Let's go. She had no choice. As she was escorted out of the courtroom, I watched her go, feeling absolutely nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just peace. Because Monica was finally out of my life for good. A week later, I got a text from an unknown number. Monica, and you ruined my life. I hope you rot. I stared at it for a second, then I typed back, me? You did that all on your own. And then, just like before, I blocked the number. Only this time I knew she would never be able to come back. It had been weeks since Monica's restraining order stunt had failed, and I was convinced I'd seen the last of her. She had no money, no legal options, no friends left to manipulate. But Monica had never been the type to accept defeat gracefully, and unfortunately for her, she was about to make one final mistake, one that would ensure she could never mess with me again. It happened on a Friday night. I had just gotten home, ready to enjoy a peaceful weekend, when my phone started buzzing nonstop. Missed calls, voicemails, all from an unknown number. I ignored it at first, assuming it was another scam call. Then a text came through, tight unknown number, answer the phone, Daniel. I stared at the message, instantly recognizing the tone, Monica. I sighed, shaking my head. She was blocked on everything, yet somehow she had found a new number to reach me. For a moment I debated ignoring her completely, but something told me that whatever this was, it needed to be shut down for good. So I picked up. What do you want, Monica? I asked flatly. Her voice came through the line, shaky, desperate. Daniel, please, I need your help. I almost laughed. It's my help? I repeated. Are you serious? Son, I have no one else, she said quickly. Please, just hear me out. I debated hanging up, but against my better judgment, I let her talk. She launched into a long, dramatic sob story about how everything had fallen apart. Her fraud case had blacklisted her from getting any serious job. She was drowning in legal fees. She had no stable income, no support system. She had lost her apartment. She was homeless. And, according to her, she was still pregnant. I don't know what to do, Daniel, she sniffled. And I have nothing left, nowhere to go. I'm scared. I didn't say anything. I just let her sit in the silence, waiting for the real reason she had called. And sure enough, here it came. Such a need money, she whispered. Just a little to get me back on my feet. There it was, the final scam. Even after everything, after trying to ruin my life, after humiliating herself in court, after being caught in blatant fraud, Monica still believed I would be dumb enough to give her money. I sighed, rubbing a hand over my face. You're unbelievable. Daniel, please, she begged. Swan, I swear I've changed. I just need a little help. Help? I interrupted. You don't need help, Monica. You need accountability. She went silent. You did this to yourself, I continued. Every single decision that led you here, you made them. You lied, you scammed, you cheated, and when it all came crashing down, you expected me to clean up the mess. I didn't. You did, I snapped. And guess what? I don't care anymore. The phone went dead quiet. I could hear her shallow breathing, like she was trying to hold back another fake sob, but I wasn't falling for it. Daniel, she whispered. Oh no, I cut her off. This is the last time you'll ever hear my voice. You lost, Monica, and I'm done. Then, without another word, I hung up. And this time, I didn't just block her number. I reported it. I didn't hear from her again after that. No more unknown calls, no more desperate texts, nothing. It was like she had finally realized that there was nothing left for her to take from me. And honestly, that was all I ever wanted, to be free. And now I was. Weeks passed after Monica's last desperate phone call, and for the first time in a long while, my life felt peaceful. There were no more court battles, no more false accusations, no more attempts to drag me back into her chaos. Monica was gone. And yet, I still couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't truly finished. Because Monica wasn't the type to disappear quietly. So when I finally did hear about her again, I wasn't surprised. But what did surprise me was just how far she had fallen. It started with a random text from a former mutual friend, someone I hadn't spoken to in months. Mark, hey man, I know you don't want to hear this, but have you seen what's happening with Monica? I stared at the message for a second before replying, Amy, no, and I don't care. Sen I figured, Mark replied. I just thought you should know she's in jail. I blinked. For a moment, I wondered if I had misread the message. Monica in jail? That didn't make sense. She was a liar, a scammer, and a manipulator, sure, but she had always managed to dodge real consequences. I was about to ignore the text when another message came through. Shit's bad, man. Or you might want to look it up yourself. Curiosity got the better of me. I pulled up my phone, typed her name into the search bar, and there it was, a news article with her mugshot. I stared at it for a long time, processing what I was looking at. Her face was puffy and tired, her hair a tangled mess. The once smug, self-assured woman who had strutted into courtrooms, convinced she could manipulate her way to financial security, was gone. She looked broken. And then I read the headline, Local woman arrested for check fraud, identity theft. I almost laughed. Of course Monica had tried one last scam, and this time she had finally gotten caught. I clicked on the article, scanning through the details. Apparently, after I cut her off completely, she had started bouncing from one bad decision to another. She had written fake checks to landlords, trying to rent apartments she couldn't afford. She had stolen credit card information from people she had met, using their names to buy expensive items, only to get caught when one of her victims pressed charges. She had even faked employment records to try and apply for a bank loan, but that too had fallen apart when the bank verified her paperwork and realized it was a scam. And now she was behind bars, awaiting trial. No bail, no escape, no more second chances. I didn't know how to feel. For so long, Monica had been a constant storm in my life, an unpredictable force that caused nothing but destruction. I had spent years cleaning up her messes, trying to protect myself from her schemes, always waiting for the next attack. And now, for the first time, she was completely powerless. There would be no more lies, no more manipulation, no more Monica. She had finally run out of moves, and somehow, that realization felt better than any courtroom victory ever had. I sat with that thought for a while before finally responding to Mark's text. Thanks for letting me know, but I really don't care anymore. And that was the truth. Monica's downfall was no longer my concern. She had spent years trying to ruin my life, only to destroy her own instead. And as I put my phone down, blocking her name from my thoughts once and for all, I knew this time I was truly, finally free. For so long, Monica had been a dark cloud hanging over my life. No matter how many times I cut her off, no matter how many court victories I won, she always found a way to crawl back, like a parasite that refused to die. But this time, it was different. This time, she was truly gone. Sitting in jail, awaiting trial, Monica had no more power over me. No more threats, no more scams, no more desperate attempts to manipulate her way back into my life. And for the first time in years, I felt something I'd forgotten was even possible: peace. In the weeks following Monica's arrest, I expected some lingering part of me to feel something. Regret, pity, maybe even the slightest bit of satisfaction. But the truth was, I felt nothing at all. I didn't check for updates on her case. I didn't ask around about her. I didn't wonder what would happen to her. Because Monica had already taken enough space in my life. She had drained me of my energy, my time, my patience, and I refused to give her another second of it. So instead, I did something I hadn't been able to do for years. I moved forward. At first, it was the little things. Waking up without the immediate stress of dealing with another one of Monica's legal battles. Going to work without having to worry about surprise phone calls from my lawyer, my bank, or my family telling me she had done something new. Eating dinner without feeling the need to check my phone. Expecting some dramatic new scheme to drop into my lap. For the first time in years, I had control over my own life, and it felt good. One day, I went through my apartment and started getting rid of everything that reminded me of her. Old paperwork from our divorce, shredded. The few photos I still had of us from before everything fell apart, deleted. Even the small, insignificant things, like the random sweatshirt she had left behind in my closet, gone. I didn't want any trace of her in my space anymore. Because Monica didn't exist in my life anymore. And the more I cleared out, the lighter I felt, like I was exorcising a demon, like I was finally free. Then something happened that really put things into perspective. I was at a coffee shop, sitting by the window enjoying my drink, when I overheard a conversation at the next table, a couple arguing in hushed voices. I wasn't trying to listen, but the words carried anyway. "Why are you always accusing me of things?" the woman hissed. "You act like I'm some villain just because you don't trust me." The man sighed. "Because every time I have trusted you, you've given me a reason not to." I stared down at my coffee, the words hitting me harder than I expected, because that had been my entire marriage. Monica had always played the victim, always turned everything back on me, always made herself the poor, misunderstood woman who just needed me to believe her, even when she lied, even when she cheated, even when she manipulated me. And back then, I had fallen for it. I'd spent so much time doubting myself because Monica was so good at making me feel like the bad guy. It wasn't until I heard it happening to someone else that I realized just how much of my life she had stolen from me. I had been a prisoner to her games, a prisoner to her manipulations, a prisoner to my own self-doubt. And now I was finally out. That night I went home, sat on my couch, and let out a breath I felt like I had been holding for years. For the first time in a long time, my life was mine again. No more drama, no more legal battles, no more Monica. She had spent years trying to drag me down into the mud with her, and in the end she had buried herself instead. And me? I had finally walked away clean.